Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 5.
I owe Black Lives Matter, my community, local law enforcement, and especially my department, my sincerest apologies.
Former Fargo Police Deputy Chief Todd Osmansen issued an apology this morning after he was quoted in a local article accusing Fargo police of having a built-in bias against people of color. Osmansen also went on to debunk claims made Monday afternoon by Black Lives Matter organizers who say Fargo police conducted illegal black ops surveillance during the May 30th protest and riot. Valley News Team's crime and safety reporter Bailey Hurley talked with Osmansen today and has our story.
It's been 5 days since Todd Osmansen turned in his badge, but Osmansen says despite the situation, he still has nothing but love and support for the Fargo Police Department, and says what he was quoted saying in a Monday night article was merely just venting.
The headline should have been, former DC Todd Osmansen has built-in bias against people of color. I threw our whole team under the bus. That was wrong, and I apologize to them.
Osmansen says the article should have been clarified more.
My officers turned on me is completely inaccurate. Were the officers confused, upset, and mad at me and not understanding what I had done? Yes.
Saying anywhere in the story that states we, they, or the department should be corrected with his name instead.
We have many officers who have no color bias. You must trust me on that.
Osmansen once again addressed his intentions of going undercover during the May 30th protests and riots, saying he only did so to keep the public and his officers safe.
There's no more to it.
Adding the new allegations by Black Lives Matter members who claim Fargo police illegally surveilled protesters are wrong.
That is so completely false and makes me nauseous and sick to hear.
Saying he hopes Black Lives Matter members one day learn to trust Fargo police officers once again. In North Fargo, Bailey Hurley, Valley News Live.
Osmansen resigned last week after he was placed on a week of unpaid suspension. Fargo Police Chief David Todd said Osmansen was acting alone and independently without his permission during the May 30th protests. We did a huge temperature swing today, landing back in the cooler digits. But the rain seems to be sticking around for some. Let's get the latest from Hutch in your First Alert forecast. Hey, Hutch.
Hey, Andrea, as we take a look at the radar real quick, we do see we had a nice break here in the FM area, Grand Forks and Lakes country here as we went through the afternoon. More showers pushing up from our south and west and 1 or 2 rumbles of thunder. But the good news, I'm not expecting any severe weather at all. These are moving to the northeast at about 40 miles per hour. We'll put them near Valley City by 5:09. We'll continue to keep you up to date with that, but more rain on the way. This is our 3-day estimates by Doppler radar on Saturday night, then again Sunday night, and then on Monday night, even more rain that impacted more the southern valley. But up here, you can notice in the northwest quadrant of Minnesota, some very healthy and lofty rainfall totals, some flooding there. And here's a look at your planner for tonight. 60s and even 50s a little later. Cloudy skies, and our best chance of rain will come here in the next couple of hours. So between 7 and 10 o'clock, we'll see more showers through the overnight. Grand Forks, there'll be a chance of some sprinkles in your forecast with temperatures falling into the 50s after sunset. Andrea, it does look cool. It looks drier as well. I have all the details on the rest of our week here in a minute.
All right. Thanks, Hutch. An investigation is now underway following the death of an inmate at the Rolette County Jail. The inmate died on June 4th while behind bars for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. The sheriff for that county says the inmate was medically cleared before going to the jail cell. The identity of the person has not been released. The cause of death is also unknown. The body is undergoing an autopsy. One man is dead after being thrown from his ATV and landing underwater in a swamp. The Hubbard County Sheriff's Office says it happened this past Sunday northeast of Itasca State Park. Authorities say it appears Timmy White from LaPorte, Minnesota, hit the ditch with his ATV and rolled, landing in the swamp. LaPorte was not wearing a helmet and he was declared dead at the scene. An investigation is underway following a garage fire in the Northern Valley. Officials say it happened around 11:30 in the morning on 42nd Avenue South in Grand Forks. Crews arrived on scene and found an attached garage in flames. The people living in the home got out safely. 2 vehicles in the garage were destroyed, and the garage itself has significant fire damage. The inside of the home also has smoke damage. State health officials are confirming 22 new cases of COVID-19 across North Dakota. This brings the active case count in the state to 379. 32 people are in the hospital with the virus, an increase of 3 from the day before. 114 more people are listed as recovered for a total of 2,450. The death toll remains at 72 for the 3rd day in a row. Meanwhile, in Minnesota, health officials are reporting 20 additional deaths linked to the virus in the state. That brings the death toll to 1,217. 968 of those deaths happened in a long-term care facility. 307 new cases are reported today, bringing the active case count to 3,085. Over 24,000 people have recovered. The body of George Floyd makes its final journey today in Texas to be laid to rest next to his mother. Family and friends gathered to pay a final tribute as protests for police reform in his memory continue. Danya Backus has the latest from Houston.
Police officers saluted as George Floyd's casket was carried into the Fountain of Praise Church in Houston. Family members arrived wearing white for a private service in the city where Floyd grew up.
I just want to say that I'm going to miss my brother a whole lot. And I just want to say to him, I love you.
The Reverend Al Sharpton delivered the eulogy.
This was not just a tragedy. It was a crime.
Joe Biden joined with a video message.
Now is the time, the purpose, the season to listen and heal. Now is the time for racial justice.
Floyd's death in Minneapolis, where a police officer knelt on his neck for nearly 9 minutes, has inspired a nationwide movement against racial injustice. But today in Houston, it was a time for reflection.
Nothing is more important right now than the family. Just making sure we're doing whatever we can as a city, as a department, to put our arms around this family and help them to get through this moment.
The funeral service was by invitation only, but yesterday the church opened to the public and mourners poured in by the thousands. Families of other black men who died at the hands of police came to grieve. Eric Garner's mother remembered his death 6 years ago.
My son said, I can't breathe. 11 times he said, I can't breathe. Floyd, he said, I can't breathe, and called for his mother. He was calling for all of us mothers. All of us. And his mother was welcoming him home.
Today, that comes true. Arriving at the Pearland Cemetery in a horse-drawn carriage, 46-year-old George Floyd will be laid to rest next to his mother. Danya Backus, CBS News, Houston, Texas.
Floyd's final resting place is in a family plot next to his mother, who witnesses say he called for in the moments before his death. The U.S. Senate is back in session today. In opening remarks, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer urged the Republican leadership to take up the issue of policing reform before the summer break on July 4th. Meanwhile, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell criticized what he called a double standard by state and local politicians who support the rights of massive protests but don't allow religious institutions to reopen.
The moment does not call for half measures. Hundreds of thousands of American protesters are not asking us to chip away around the edges. They want bold reform and meaningful changes to a system that all too often delivers unequal justice for too many Black Americans and that has existed that way for too long.
Senator Schumer ended by saying every day provides fresh evidence that this country will have to unite in spite of the president and not because of him. County auditors across the state will be tallying your ballots today in the statewide primary election, with all 53 counties opting for a mail-in only election due to virus concerns. According to the Secretary of State's website, more than 155,000 ballots have already been cast. That's more than 94% of the ballots that were mailed to households across the state. Stick with Valley News Live for the latest results as they come in. They've taken a cue from Washington. In Madison, Wisconsin, drone footage has captured loud and clear a message from those who have been protesting the death of George Floyd. The message, "Defund Police," was written along Martin Luther King Boulevard between the City County building and the municipal building Monday evening. The message in Madison comes after protesters in the nation's capital painted the words "Black Lives Matter" on a street leading to the White House. Still ahead on Valley News Live at 5, lawmakers discuss the future of police as family members lay George Floyd to rest.
Severe weather through the valley the last 3 days brought 5 to 8 inches of estimated rainfall to the north, and also hail and even a few tornadoes. Your hour-by-hour forecast is quieter but cooler for a while. I'll have the latest coming up right after this.